Sounds like a lot of different people. People are the hardest part of any sort of technology. So have you found that to be true yourself, or is this just my own experiences kind of showing its bias there?
I mean, I think it's been one of the great joys of working in open source for me is the people, right? I was talking with Catherine Druckman. We were in Open Source Summit Europe together, right? And she gave a keynote at our Open SSF Community Day that all about DevRel, right? And how DevRel is about people, right? And I feel like open source is really about people more than anything else. And I would say like that's where I think Flux did a really great job of just being as open and welcoming as possible so that people felt safe and included so that then they could, contribute and feel like part of this community, right? It wasn't just like, well, you're not a maintainer, you're not this, you're not that. It was just like, hey, do whatever you can, be whatever you can in this community, and you're going to be welcomed, right? And I feel like it's not special to Flux. I would say that for me, I've seen that happen in many open source projects that I've been involved with. And I felt like Kubernetes space in general was very open and welcoming. And then coming here to OpenSSF, I was blown away at how wonderful the people in this community really are, right? I've never met so many just like super nice, but super smart, but super welcoming people that just, want to bring you in and share their knowledge and love for open source and open source security, of course.
So is there any sort of similar themes between all of these communities that you've experienced that makes them more welcoming, makes them, if I'm a maintainer on a project and I'm really wanting to grow that, what things can I do perhaps to make folks that are looking at the project for the first time maybe want to just leave an issue or even, just adopt it? How can I make it more welcoming to folks?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's always the question, right? Like, how do you grow? How do you nurture? I'm not the expert with this, right? I'm not, some guru who's going to tell you how to do all the community growth and how it works and everything like that, right? But from what I've seen is just, being as open as possible with folks, right? Giving them a kudos and things like this. I would say, I mean, the first thing that I hear from community members is documentation, right? So that's always like the big thing. It's like, having some place where people know like how they can contribute in the first place. I think is key, right? So making sure that your documentation has a contributing MD or something like that, where it's clearly outlined, creating those good first issues in your GitHub repos, and just creating a really welcoming environment for folks when they enter, your Slack channel, your GitHub, giving them kudos, making them, less afraid to do something wrong, right? Like PRs welcome. Don't be afraid of messing up, right? Because it's super important that I think all of us have this fear of screwing something up, right? But as long as you can let people know, like, it's okay, we're not going to berate you if you do something wrong, right? We're going to help you along the way and kind of be that mentor to some folks that oftentimes I think people who are joining open source communities are students or just learning about open source, and they really don't know how to do this whole open source thing, right? So just shepherding them through the process, I think, is key.
That's a very valid point. I was in a meeting earlier today. The conversation was for internal engineers at a company where they're not used to contributing to open source. It can be very intimidating for somebody who's never had open source experience to push their code in front of the whole world, essentially, and leave it out there for judgment. And that's not really the intention of that community, is not to come back and judge your code or judge your efforts. Having been on this side of things for a little bit now, I can definitely say those contributions are definitely welcome. That's not just lip service in the contributing guide.